What if love could paint a dream so vivid it felt more real than life itself? In this heartwarming story, Toan and Diem share a quiet afternoon on their farm, imagining the sacred day their little daughter, baby Annie, will be baptized at a sunlit church surrounded by lavender fields. Through their tender vision, we witness not just a ceremony, but the reflection of deep faith, gratitude, and a love that transcends time. Subscribe to our channel for more emotional, faith-filled stories that touch the heart. And now, let's step into their beautiful dream together. The afternoon sun poured its golden warmth across the quiet fields, wrapping the small farmhouse in a glow that felt like a tender embrace from heaven itself. Inside, Ly Tu Diem leaned gently against Toan's shoulder, her fingers intertwined with his as they sat together by the window, watching the leaves dance outside. The scent of wild lavender drifted in through the half-open shutters, and the rhythmic clucking of hens from the nearby coop blended softly with the distant hum of the wind. It was one of those peaceful afternoons when time seemed to slow down, when every heartbeat carried a promise and every sigh whispered of dreams waiting to bloom. Diem turned her face slightly, her lips curling into a faint, serene smile. "Toan," she murmured, her voice tender like the brush of silk. "I keep imagining the day our little Annie will be taken to the church for her baptism." Her words hung in the air, delicate and sacred, like a prayer only the two of them could hear. Toan didn't answer right away. Instead, he drew her closer, resting his chin gently atop her hair. His heart swelled with a warmth that words could never quite express. In that moment, the simple wooden floor beneath their feet, the scent of fresh hay from the barn, and the rhythmic clucking of hens from the nearby coop all seemed to melt into the same golden light of their shared vision. He could see it too. The church bathed in sunlight, the white gown of their baby shimmering softly under the holy rays. Annie's tiny fingers would curl around his thumb, her sleepy eyes reflecting innocence and peace. And Diem, she would stand there radiant, her eyes glistening like morning dew, her soul glowing with gratitude. Toan let out a quiet laugh, his voice deep and warm. "You know," he said softly, "I think I can already hear the church bells." Diem lifted her gaze, meeting his eyes, those steady, comforting eyes that had seen her through storms and serenity alike. "Then let's promise," she whispered. "When that day comes, we'll walk together, not just to the church, but through every day after, side by side." Outside, the wind brushed through the trees as if blessing their vow. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows that danced upon the wooden walls. And for a fleeting second, Diem could almost see herself holding Annie in a flowing white gown. Her heart tightened, not with longing, but with joy, the kind of quiet, certain joy that only love and faith could bring. In that golden silence, Toan kissed the top of her head and whispered, "That day will come soon, my love." And though the church existed only in their imagination, in that moment, heaven already felt very close. The image in their minds unfolded so vividly that it felt almost real, as if their hearts had built the moment together, piece by piece, out of love and faith. The little church stood quietly at the edge of a lavender field, its white walls glistening under the gentle morning light. The air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers and the soft murmur of hymns echoing through the open wooden doors. Inside, candles flickered like tiny stars, casting halos of gold upon the stone floor. Every detail shimmered with a sense of purity and peace, as though time itself had bowed down in reverence to witness this sacred day. Ziema walked slowly down the aisle, her steps light and graceful. She wore a simple white dress that floated softly with every movement, the fabric brushing against the pews as she passed. Her hair was loosely braided, adorned with small petals that Toan had picked for her earlier that morning, a quiet gesture of love that made her heart tremble. Toan stood at the altar, dressed in a light beige suit, his hands holding their precious daughter close to his chest. Annie was wrapped in a lace baptismal blanket, her tiny face calm and serene, as if she too could sense the holiness surrounding her. The priest smiled warmly when the family approached. His voice, gentle and deep, filled the church as he began the ceremony. The soft Latin words rose and fell like waves of blessing, weaving through the air with quiet strength. When he dipped his hand into the silver basin and sprinkled the holy water upon Annie's forehead, a faint droplet rolled down her soft cheek. Ziem's breath caught in her throat. Her eyes shimmered with tears she didn't try to hide. Toan reached for her hand. His thumb traced small circles over her skin, a quiet reminder that this moment, this love, was everything they had ever prayed for. The baby stirred, letting out a tiny sound, almost like a sigh. The congregation, made up of close friends, neighbors, and a few old villagers, smiled tenderly. The organ began to play, its melody soaring upward toward the high arched ceiling, where light streamed through the stained glass in hues of amber and blue. It painted their faces in colors of grace, the father's pride, the mother's devotion, the child's innocence. As the priest lifted his hand in final blessing, Ziem closed her eyes and whispered a prayer of gratitude. She thought of all the sleepless nights, the gentle lullabies, the silent hopes whispered under the stars, and how it had all led to this beautiful day. Toan looked at her, his expression soft, his eyes gleaming with both awe and promise. And in that sacred silence, surrounded by light, lavender, and love, they both knew this wasn't just a baptism. It was the celebration of a miracle, the living proof of the life and love they had built together. As the vision faded into a soft haze, Jean found herself still resting against Toan's shoulder, her heart full and her eyes glistening with tears she hadn't noticed forming. The golden afternoon light still streamed through the window, yet everything felt different now, as if their home had absorbed a piece of that sacred dream. The air was warmer, the silence deeper, and their love somehow felt even more alive. Toan turned to her, brushing a loose strand of hair from her face, and whispered with a gentle smile, "One day soon, that moment will be real, I promise." Jean smiled through her tears, her voice trembling softly. "I could almost hear her cry," she said, referring to baby Annie. The way she smiled in the dream, it felt like heaven itself was watching over her. Toan nodded, his gaze distant but full of warmth. He could still see it, the sunlight pouring through the stained glass, the sound of church bells ringing in the wind, the faint fragrance of lavender clinging to Jean's dress. It was a dream, yes, but it carried the weight of something true, something that already existed within their hearts. He reached for her hand again, their fingers fitting perfectly together, as if carved by time itself to belong. Outside, the world continued its quiet rhythm. A rooster crowed in the distance, the branches swayed gently, and somewhere, a few dandelion seeds drifted past the window, glowing softly in the sun. "You know," Toan said after a moment, his voice thoughtful, "I think moments like these are God's way of reminding us that miracles start long before they're seen." Jean turned toward him, her eyes glowing with affection. "And ours began," she whispered, "the day we chose to love, even when life wasn't easy." She rested her hand on her belly for a moment, remembering the nights of worry, the times they prayed for their child's safe arrival, and the quiet courage that kept them moving forward. Toan placed his hand gently over hers, feeling the quiet rhythm of her heartbeat beneath his palm. "Then maybe," he said softly, "Annie's baptism won't just be a ceremony. It'll be a thank you to the universe, to faith, and to love itself." They sat there, wrapped in golden light and quiet gratitude, as if the dream had settled gently around them like a blessing. Jean closed her eyes and could still see it, the smile of their little girl, the sparkle of the holy water, the peaceful warmth that filled the church. Her lips curved into a soft, hopeful smile. Toan leaned down, kissed her forehead, and whispered with a gentle smile, "One day soon, that moment will be real." Jean smiled, her voice trembling. I could almost hear her cry. The way she smiled in the dream, it felt like heaven itself was watching over her. Toan nodded, his gaze distant but full of warmth. He could still see it, the sunlight pouring through the stained glass, the sound of church bells ringing in the wind, the faint fragrance of lavender clinging to Jean's dress. It was a dream, yes, but it carried the weight of something true, something that already existed within their hearts. Toan reached for her hand again, their fingers fitting perfectly together, as if carved by time itself to belong. Outside, the world continued its quiet rhythm. A rooster crowed in the distance, the branches swayed gently, and somewhere a few dandelion seeds drifted past the window, glowing softly in the sun. "You know,"